It was past midnight in the Thar Desert. The sand was silent, the sky was dark, and then the ground began to shake, not from an earthquake, but from tanks, rolling straight toward a small Indian border post defended by just 120 soldiers. What happened next became one of the most unbelievable last stands in Indian military history. This was the Battle of Longewala. Longewala wasn't a city. It wasn't even a village. It was a remote post near Jaisalmer, surrounded by endless sand dunes. Open desert, no forests, no buildings, no cover. In terrain like this, armor moves fast. If an armored column breaks through here, nothing stops it from pushing deep inside. Longewala was the door, and behind that door was Rajasthan. Just one day earlier, on 3rd December 1971, Pakistan launched preemptive airstrikes on Indian air bases. War was no longer coming. War had arrived. Across the Western Front, forces were already moving. And in the desert, something big was heading toward Longewala. At Longewala stood a company of the 23rd Punjab Regiment, about 120 men. Leading them was a calm, resolute officer, Kuldip Singh Chandpuri. Their defenses were basic, their weapons were limited. But what they had was discipline, and one decision that would change history. They would hold. Across the border, a large Pakistani force advanced, infantry, artillery, and tanks, so many tanks that the night thundered. There was even a confident line whispered among the attackers: breakfast at Longewala, lunch at Ramgarh, dinner at Jaisalmer. That was the belief, that by morning Longewala would be gone. After midnight, the sound became impossible to ignore. Tank engines, artillery flashes, machine gun fire. The enemy was close. For the soldiers at Longewala, this was the worst scenario imaginable: tanks in open desert against mostly infantry weapons. Most people assume one thing happens next: retreat. But that night, retreat was not chosen. Major Chandpuri organized the defense. Every weapon was placed carefully. Every round mattered. The soldiers fired, paused, repositioned, not to destroy the enemy, but to delay them. And then the desert played its part. Soft sand slowed the tanks. Dunes broke formations. Even a simple strand of wire around the post created confusion. The attackers feared minefields that didn't exist. Minutes passed, then hours. In war, time is everything. Reinforcements were requested. Air support was requested. But the aircraft available, Hawker Hunter jets, could not strike effectively at night. The reply came back simple and terrifying: hold till morning. Imagine that. Tanks outside, artillery around you, and your best hope was sunrise. As the sun rose over the desert, the sky filled with Indian Air Force jets. The same open desert that helped tanks move fast now left them completely exposed. The hunters struck again and again. Under open sky, armor had nowhere to hide. The battlefield turned silent, except for explosions. What was meant to be a breakthrough became a disaster. Without air cover, without momentum, the advance collapsed. Disabled tanks littered the sand. Different accounts give different numbers. But the truth is simple. The offensive stopped at Longewala by a company that refused to break in the dark. Here's the part history never forgets. If those 120 men had fallen back at night, there would have been nothing to save at dawn. They held. Through fear, through explosions, through rumbling steel. For his leadership and courage, Major Chandpuri was awarded the Mahavir Chakra. But the real honor belongs to every soldier who stood beside him. Fought from 4 to 7th of December 1971, Longewala became a defining Indian victory on the Western Front. It is remembered as proof that terrain matters, coordination matters, and courage can outweigh numbers. That night, the desert taught a lesson the world still remembers. Numbers don't win battles alone. Machines don't win battles alone. Sometimes a small post, a small company, and the will to hold can stop an army of tanks. This was Longewala. As evening fell over the desert sands years later, the wind whispered stories of bravery and fortitude. Longewala had become a legend, a story told to every new generation of soldiers in the Indian Army. Around campfires, soldiers would gather and recount the tale of the 120 men who stood like an iron wall against overwhelming odds. It was not just about military tactics. It was about the heart of a soldier. Sir, do you think we could stand like they did if needed? It's not about thinking if you can, son. It's knowing you must. That's what Longewala teaches us. Each setting sun over the Thar Desert carried the silent promise of peace, a reminder of those who made it possible by refusing to yield when all seemed lost. In training fields near Longewala, young soldiers still practice under the watchful eyes of their commanders. Remember, every movement counts. Discipline and strategy win battles, not just numbers. I heard my grandfather talk about Longewala. He said it teaches us that commitment is everything. He's right. Commitment defines a soldier's honor, and at Longewala that was proven. As you continue your training, never forget the values Longewala embodied: unity, courage, and resilience. Sir, we won't forget. Longewala is more than just a place on the map. It's a testament to the spirit that can overcome any challenge. Its story, passed down through generations, inspires each new wave of soldiers who vow to uphold its legacy.